All right, so hi, I'm Aaron Anderson. I'm an internship coordinator at the UNT Career Center, and we have a video today on how to tie a tie. You'd be surprised how many students we see come into the Career Center on interview day. They've either forgotten their tie or they don't know how to tie one and they're kind of in a panic. So a lot of people overlook this, but it's really one of the basic skills that you need to have to be presentable for career fairs and interviews. And today we have some special guests here to help us, show everybody how to tie a tie. I'll kick it to Tim Smith first.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, my name is Tim Smith. I'm the regional director for a financial planning firm here in Dallas called Woodmen. And been with the firm for about 8 years. I've been a big supporter of UNT as well as UNT athletics, and been tying ties for quite a while. I remember my first time tying a tie. I did it terribly. I think I tied it like I'm tying my shoes. I didn't know there was a special way to do it, and I think I've ruined plenty of good silk ties over the years. But I've also learned a lot of really good techniques about how to do it well, how to choose the right tie to fit your head style and everything else. And so excited to go through and show you guys how to do it today, and be able to use an amazing model and Dan Dickinson to be able to demonstrate that.
All right, great. And down in the lower left-hand corner, we've got Hank Dickinson. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Hank.
Well, Aaron, I am a longtime employee of the athletic department at the University of North Texas. So my standard issue wardrobe is normally a green Nike shirt and khaki pants. But as Tim knows, through a number of years being affiliated with the Chamber of Commerce in different capacities and having to be out beating the streets, doing the sales game to raise sponsorships, I have worn my fair share of ties. Not today. But my oldest son, Dan, has learned how to tie a tie. He wants to be like Tim Smith, so he knows he's got to look good out there. And
he'll look better than me.
So we're going to use Dan as our model today. If something happens to him, we'll go to my younger son, Joe, but he is right now majoring in Fortnite, and he's in the other room eating up a lot of Wi-Fi.
One quick question. What about on game days, Hank? Do you wear a tie for Mean Green football broadcasts?
Normally not for football, because we're in the press box and no one really sees us doing radio. But for a basketball game where we might be at an NCAA tournament or a Conference USA, then normally, yes, the dress is a little bit more formal. Radio, obviously not as important as TV. If you're doing TV, you're absolutely wearing a suit and a tie. And even though in TV, the announcers are only on for a few seconds, really, for an open tease, you do try to look a little bit more formal. TV more so than radio.
Excellent. And the last member of our panel, we have Dan Dickinson.
Awesome. Year finance major at UNT, and I'll be in underneath Tim Smith at Modern Woodmen summer. Couple of years. I was taught primarily by my dad, so if this doesn't go well, we know who to blame on the panel today.
All right, so I will kick it to Hank and Tim to do the play-by-play. They can set it up, and we will move on from there.
Awesome.
Well, Tim, obviously what we've got here is a 6'5" player. So this is a long player getting ready to tie the tie. As we get started, one of the thoughts here, people come in all shapes and sizes. If you're that tall, Tim, anything you're thinking is important for him to be
definitely
aware of?
Yeah, I would definitely think the tie length is first on anybody's mind as they're trying to pick the tie, how they're going to make that tie work for themselves, what's going to look best for them. A big guy like me, a thin tie, a string tie is maybe not the best, most flattering thing to put on, but for a tall, lanky player like Dan Dickinson here, a nice thin, a little bit more modern, sleek tie would work out great. And then I think that you have to make that choice based off of the type of knot that you're going to choose based off of your head style, which I'm interested to see what type of knot Dan's going to choose today.
Well, let's get started, Dan, and let's see what it looks like here as he begins the wraparound process.
Yeah, so I only know one form of knot, so we're going to go with a pretty simple version here today. But like
Now,
you were
Hank,
saying,
this is what a lot of scouts had said about Dan back then, was that he was a one-dimensional player, and so hopefully that one dimension will get him through enough today.
we've honed the craft a little bit here, Tim Smith. We've honed the craft. So step one, like you were saying, you want to make sure the length is going to be okay. It's going to be different for everybody, but for me personally, I've found that I want the left shorter side to fall right about the 5th button on my dress shirt. So I just kind of count it down and I know where it's supposed to lie for me lengthwise. The first step is to take the bigger portion and go around the smaller one.
This is the wraparound technique, Tim, the wraparound.
This is.
You know, that technique he just had there, Hank. You don't see that in young players like that. You know, that's truly amazing of how technical, how precise he was with that move. Truly phenomenal to watch in action.
He's kind of the Rick Barry of tie tying. This is a different way of old school, but anyway, it works. It works for him.
It works.
Dan,
It works.
continue the wraparound.
So I take my 2 fingers and use them as a placeholder. After I've wrapped it around, you're going to take this tight and go. You've got a little pocket. This bigger part come back through the neck of the tie.
Hold on there, Dan. I think this is where a lot of players make the mistake. They usually get the wraparound, but coming back up through and putting it back through the tie is pretty difficult to do. So pretty proud to see that so far.
Dan, can you back us up to right? You've just finished the wraparound. I think we froze you on the going up and then back under.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got the wraparound part. I'll just go ahead and redo that.
Mm-hmm.
So we had it to here. I use these 2 fingers as a placeholder. Go over the 2 fingers, and then take the tie, the bigger part back through the. At this point, you can gauge whether or not it's going to be long enough. The big part will kind of fall, and you can see if it's where you want it to be. From here, you take the part that just came through the neck and go through the hole that you were placing with your fingers. So you're going to come through and just pull that bigger part right on through the center there. It will fall, and you can tighten it on up and kind of shape it the way you need it to be. Get it into place and pop the collar back down.
Now, that's a good-looking half Windsor that Dan just tied there, and I think that's a very common knot to have, especially if you've got maybe a little bit taller, thinner head. Dan could definitely go through and do a couple different steps and tie a full Windsor, but that half Windsor is I would say probably the universal knot, the thing that anybody can tie. It's the most simple one. It's something that's acceptable in almost every single scenario and situation. And Dan did a great job of showing how to do that.
Yes, his confidence factor very, very high. But the only thing that really helps in this is practice. If you can get where you can tie the tie without a mirror, then you have arrived.
That's when you get the Tom Brady's and the Peyton Mannings of the tying world on your hands. Whenever you start seeing guys tying ties one-handed or with their eyes closed, or I've even seen a guy tie his tie while driving down the road. And you know what? Maybe I don't condone it, but that guy definitely shows his expertise in that scenario.
Hey, well, women put their makeup on, men tie their. Be careful when you're driving and try that maneuver. Now, let's say though for a moment that Dan was not 6'5", he was 5'6". How would this process have been altered in any way?
Are you asking me there, Hank? I think the best thing to see, if you have a little bit shorter person, you're definitely gonna have to double check and make sure the length of that tie is gonna fall correctly. Hopefully, as Dan goes through and ties this tie again in a minute, we'll see that. We'll ask actually Dan to stand up and show, but we want to see where that tie falls right in front of where your belt buckle would be. And so if you're a little bit shorter of an individual, maybe that side that is on the screen's right, Dan's left, would be a little bit further down Dan's body, maybe not the 5th button, maybe the 6th or 7th button, so that he can make that bottom piece just a little bit higher. But let's see if Dan can execute maybe 6 or 7 inches just a little bit shorter and show us how to do it then.
We move now to action later in the game as Dan is now going to retie the tie.
So as I mentioned before, for me, I've found that about the 5th button is right. Everybody's going to want to find their kind of length zone that they need to be in. But I've found that especially with this length tie, this works for me. So find what works for you as far as letting the tie fall and where they both need to be. And then the process remains the same. You're going to go big side, over and around the shorter side.
The
Take your
wraparound.
two fingers as a placeholder. Go right over the top of that. And then you're going to come up through the neck right here. So come through. It's at this point that you can kind of let the bigger part fall, and you can see where it's going to be. For me, I can tell that this will be enough length for the tie when I get done. So I'm going to go ahead and take the bigger part and go through where my fingers were using as the placeholder. And from here, you just tighten it up and adjust the length accordingly. You will be good to go.
Now, Dan, quick question. Do you dimple your ties or not dimple your tie there in the very front underneath that knot? What's your, as a player, what do you prefer on the field there?
I do not dimple my ties. My dimple is not consistent enough at the moment. I need to hone that craft a little bit more, Tim.
Okay, well, good. Well, hey, at least you know what you're good at and you stick within that zone. That's appreciated.
I heard that inconsistent dimpling was one of the big pre-draft knocks on young Dickinson there.
Huge area, definitely a project within the organization, but we'll certainly coach him up as he comes on through. Every organization needs a good project like that, so
Yeah,
he'll be mastering dimpling within 2 to 3 years, hopefully.
the dimple ratio is the only thing holding him back from a long-term contract. But that and maybe Tim, ironing the white shirt. How much should you be responsible for the ironing of the white shirt?
I think ironing of white shirts is extremely important. I also think that maybe investing a little bit into a nice dry cleaner is a phenomenal thing. It does definitely cost you some money, but the more you iron your shirts, the more you wear out the natural non-iron, non-wrinkle properties of the shirt. Take it to a dry cleaner. Let them do the professional work on it. It always comes out best, and you'll get to keep your white shirts for longer.
And now, Aaron, your challenge is finding a dry cleaner that's actually open.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that the other day. It seems like for now, you better learn to iron and take care of your ties and shirts.
Now, Dan, I do want to ask you a question. You chose to wear a white shirt today for this demonstration. Was there any reason why you chose a white and it looks like a black or a very dark navy tie? Did you think about a different colored shirt or maybe a lighter colored tie? Any consideration within that?
So if I'm going with a dress shirt, I try to go with either white or a light blue. I've always kind of been told you don't want your dress to be the #1 thing that stands out about you. Make sure that you're dressed appropriately for the situation, but don't let that be the talking point. Kind of bring more to the table. So I go basic, kind of neutral colors with the shirt. And then the tie, this one's personally my favorite one that I own. It's just a nice navy blue tie. And as I mentioned before, I kind of know the length on this one pretty well, so it was good for the demonstration.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I
Who
think
got you? I'm sorry, Tim. Just point of reference. Who bought you that tie? Did you buy that tie?
It was probably your mother. Your mother bought me this one.
Okay.
And that wasn't an insult, guys. That literally was his mother. But no, I definitely see that in a lot of veteran tie tyers, they'll choose to make sure that their tie is definitely darker than their dress shirt they're choosing. It can sometimes be apropos to choose a lighter colored tie with a darker colored shirt, and so Dan did a good job of color selection within his outfit for today.
I was told always to wear a green tie, so that's what I've done for 25 years. It's nice to wear a tie that's not green every now and then.
Keep on drinking the Kool-Aid, Hank. Keep on drinking the Kool-Aid.
Well, how'd we do, Aaron?
I think that's going to be great. I think that could be a good wrap for us. We got a couple of different shots of Dan in action. I think we got a nice smooth one at the end where there was no freeze up. So I certainly appreciate everybody being here. Tim, do you have anything that you want to let the students of UNT know who might see this? Do you have any opportunities that you want them to know about with your organization?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Aaron. No, I think our firm, Modern Woodmen, has always been very committed to finding and assisting students who are coming out of college and entering the career and workforce to finding a career in which they can make an impact, whether it's in the community or with the lives of clients. So Dan has been phenomenal. He did a job shadowing with us last summer, doing the internship with us this upcoming summer, did an on-campus internship with us in the fall semester of 2019. And so he got a chance to see the type of impact this career makes. And so we invite any student out there that loves making a positive impact in the lives of their family, the lives of their friends, the lives of their community, and wants to have that be their career. Feel free to reach out to us and find us at mwacareers.org or look us up, Tim Smith at Modern Woodmen. On any social media platform, you should be able to find us there.
Excellent. Will you be in attendance at our virtual career fair today?
I will be in attendance at the virtual career fair today, and I think, according to Hank, I think we're going to be we're also going to be the presenting sponsor for the Scrappy Awards for the student athletes. So very excited about that as well. So, like I said, a big UNT supporter.
I think that's going to wrap it up today. Thank you guys all so much for supporting us and participating. I will let you know as soon as the video is ready so you can share it on your platforms or whatever you want to do with it. But again, Tim, you've been a longtime supporter of the Career Center and always great to work with you. And Hank and Dan, it's always fun when we can get a little like multi-generational UNT connection going there. So I thank you all very much for your time, and I will let you go.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
See you again,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.